Hello, in this tutorial you're going to learn the basic layout of Photoshop. Here on the left you have the tools panel where you can find all the tools you need. Right here is your control bar or your options panel. Right up here is your menu bar. On the right hand side are your side panels, and this long strip going vertically down the side is your dock. Alright, we're going to go ahead and open up a new file. Go to new. You can title it collage for this project. The width and the height 11 by 8.5. If you want 11 inches wide or 8.5 inches high, it's completely up to you. Right now we're going to keep it in inches. Remember, pixels are what's used in Photoshop because every picture is made up of a bunch of itty bitty pixels, as opposed to Illustrator, which is made up of vectors. That's how you get the smooth lines in Illustrator. Here you have the color mode. For print we use CMYK. For web we use RGB. We're not doing anything for web today or in this project this semester, so we're going to keep it on CMYK. Then once you have everything looking like this, click OK. And there's my artboard. I'm going to click Command 0 to get it perfectly into my viewer. You'll notice up here in your toolbox you have 4 different selection tools. Photoshop does it this way because these 4 selection tools are what you're going to be mostly using in Photoshop whenever you're editing pictures. So to give you an example on how to use these, you're going to go to File, Place, have this picture right here, and you'll have to confirm your selection every time you add a picture. You can click the check mark or you can click enter. And if I want to move this picture, I'll grab the move tool. This is one of your main selection tools. You cannot move a picture unless you are on that layer. Notice Photoshop creates new layers for every move you make. So if I was to make a shape on the background, I'm going to fill it in with a different color. I'll leave it strokeless. If I wanted to add a stroke though, I could change it right here, increase the size. I don't want a stroke, so I'm just going to leave it at no stroke. Okay, and now this rectangle is covering the picture below it. I'm just going to move the layer down to where the picture is on top. Now I have my rectangle layer selected. I'm going to grab the move tool, and that will allow me to move the rectangle behind the picture. I'm going to grab my Barbara Walters picture. Okay. Go Command T. Command T allows you to transform images and make them larger or smaller. And then select OK. Click the check mark, move it. Now let me zoom in on this picture so I can show you how to start using some of your other selection tools. Here you have your marquee. The marquee tool selects whatever area you have selected within that shape. Notice there is a ellipses marquee tool, rectangular marquee tool, single row and single column marquee tools. Those are all used for many different purposes. For this example, I'm just going to show you how you can manipulate the selection you've chosen with the marquee tool. So I'm going to grab the brightness and contrast layer. Notice whenever I grab the layer, it automatically comes with a mask. Normally this mask is white. In this case, it's black because it's hiding everything except for the part I've marqueed. So, and we'll explain masking in just a second. It can be a little bit confusing. Now it's just changing whatever it is that you've selected in the marquee tool. Okay, I'm going to use the history panel to go back. Remember, in Photoshop you have the history panel that allows you to go back and undo selections. You also have Option Command Z that allows you to go back more than once. If you keep pressing Command Z, it's going to undo and redo and undo and redo. So you're better off using Option Command Z or the history panel for very specific movements backwards. I also have my quick selection tool. This is my favorite because it's so easy to use. You can just quickly select different areas of the picture that you want to change. So in this case, I grabbed a little bit too much. I don't want the map that's behind her head. I'm going to go up here, go subtract from selection. And I'll go back up here and go to add to selection so I can grab these little details that I missed earlier. I'll go ahead and take her suit as well. Now a shortcut, so I don't have to keep going back and forth up here and down here, I can use the shortcuts on your keyboard. So to subtract from selection, I'm just holding down Option. If you are on subtract from selection, you can hold down Shift and that will allow you to add to selection. Option, subtract from selection. Okay, and that just makes working in Photoshop a lot easier. These shortcuts will help you out so much. Okay, once you have whatever you want selected, you're going to click Refine Edge. You should see your picture on a white background. If you don't, then just change your view to on white. Notice there are shortcuts for this as well. Select Smart Radius, and that will allow you to get very specific details of the character that you chose. Now if this happens to you, just play with the options you have. So I'm going to shift the edge outward. To get the very detailed parts of her hair. I'm going to smooth out the edges, feather out the edges. Be wary of the feather because that can make it look like a glamour portrait, and that's not exactly what you want to do. You just want a little bit of feather so that it blends well. Contrast will of course create contrast in your picture. That kind of makes your edge a little bit more definite, so there's not as easy of a transition there. So I'm going to leave it just like that. Output the selection to a new layer. If you don't, then the selection will just stay on the layer that it was on, and that can get tricky. So it's just so much easier just to output it to a brand new layer so you don't have to mess with the old picture anymore. Click OK. And there I have her face by itself floating in the background. And that's how you use the quick selection and the refine edge. There's another way you can use the refine edge, and that is with the lasso tool. And this is the last tool I'll show you in this tutorial. I'm just going to undo all of this in my history panel, so probably up until right here. This is my last move. Okay. And notice it got rid of my new layer with her floating head on it and everything I had done in Refine Edge. So I'm starting back at the beginning. I'm going to zoom in, grab the lasso tool. Here you have the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool, and the magnetic lasso tool. With this lasso tool, you choose what you want to grab and what you don't want to grab. With the magnetic lasso tool, it kind of attaches to what it thinks you want to select. And so it's kind of like the quick selection. It's a good medium between the quick selection and the actual lasso tool. This actually would help you a lot on pictures like this where the edges are very defined. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to choose the actual lasso tool and just click and drag. Now if you notice, I'm about to make a big mistake. I have my subtract from selection option selected, so I'm going to go back to my new selection. It's going to cancel all this out, and I'm going to make a brand new selection. Okay, now if I get stuck and I can't go past this point, I'm gonna end it right there, and I don't have to just cut her head off. I can add to that selection with this option up here, add to selection. Okay, I want to add to this selection over here. I'm just going to continue it all the way through. And then you'll always have these little strays. You'll have to just circle through to add to your selections. There are parts like this that you will want to select, so you're going to go subtract from selection, and they're all up in the same spot they were at whenever you chose quick selection. So I don't want all of that. I'm going to get rid of that. Okie doke. And I have most of what I want selected, so I'm going to go back to refine edge. I have it on the white background. Smooth it out, feather it out, give it some contrast if I choose, if I think it's fitting, and shift the edge, output it to a brand new layer, and voila, there it is. So those are two ways that you can select objects and cut them out of their original pictures using Refine Edge. And that's all for this tutorial. On the next tutorial, you're going to learn how to use brushes and the masking tools.